For a while now, the Ford Mustang's been transitioning away from muscle car into sports car. But this is no mere Mustang. It's the Ford Shelby GT350, and it's one of the most exciting cars on the road today, so I'm just gonna shut up and hop behind the wheel, all right? So when I say that the Mustang is now a sports car, I mean that it's no longer a one-trick pony drag racer. It's a well-balanced vehicle that corners as well as it launches. And the GT350 is the best example of this chassis, though to call the Shelby GT350 a Mustang is perhaps a bit of an understatement. Yes, it uses the same body, but everything attached to that body is completely different and has been reinvented in the pursuit of speed. This is practically a completely new car. So we're riding on a magnetic suspension at all four corners that can adapt to the road and my inputs to the steering within 1/10 of a second. We've also got wide tires, not just out back, but also up front. These are the widest tires that Ford's ever fitted a Mustang with, which means that the front suspension geometry also needs to be rejiggered. The result is handling that's just on the right side of sublime. This is a car that feels alive in your hands and really puts you in contact with the road. It's just so much fun. Now we've got some control over the suspension, the steering, and other things with 5 drive modes. Right now we're in normal, but we can pop into a sport mode. There's also a track mode and a drag race specific mode and a mode for wet weather. Now you'll notice that in the sport mode, the exhaust note is a little bit more pronounced. That's because there are active baffles in the exhaust system that open up in the sport mode to make it sound a little bit better, breathe a little bit better, give you a little more power. Now the most interesting part of the GT350 lives under the hood. That's where you'll find its 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 engine, making about 526 horsepower and 429 pound-feet of torque. But what's most interesting is how it makes that power. This is a flat plane crank naturally aspirated V8 engine with a red line of 8,000 RPM. Peak power doesn't come on until 7,500 RPM. That means that this isn't only the most powerful naturally aspirated engine that Ford's ever built, it's also the highest revving production engine that it's ever made. It's not a stretch to say that this engine has more in common with a naturally aspirated Ferrari than it does with any other V8 that Ford's built. This is exotic level stuff. That V8's high revving nature pretty much informs the rest of the GT350's performance. Because most of the power is in the upper reaches of the tachometer swing, you've really got to wring this thing out if you want to get everything that this car has to offer. That doesn't mean that you can't have fun around town, but this is really a track-focused car. And in the lower reaches of the RPM, it's actually a pretty smooth V8 that's a bit brash, a bit loud, but easy to drive. Interestingly, I found that this car takes on a bit of an edge when you get it on a back road. There's a weird tendency of the front end with those really wide tires to follow irregularities in the road and a bit of a wiggle to the rear end when you get on the power. That sort of dangerous twinkle in its eye, along with the very strong feeling of stability and safety, means that it's almost like this car saying, I'm not gonna kill you, but I could. And then it doesn't, and you're filled with adrenaline at the end of your ride. If you've ever ridden a roller coaster, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now at its heart, this is still a Mustang, so I know what you're thinking. How fast does it launch? Let's find out. To help you with your quarter-mile run, Ford's giving you 2 tools to help you. The first is a line lock feature. What that does is it locks the front brakes while leaving the rear brakes unlocked so that you can do a burnout and warm up those rear tires to get ready for your run. So here we go. awesome. It gives you about 15 seconds of that, which should be enough to get your tires nice and warmed up. The next is launch control. So what we're gonna do is we're going to select the drag strip mode. Launch control is automatically enabled in that mode. So we're gonna put it in first gear, clutch down, hold down the RPMs. 5,000 RPM, that's an interesting place to launch from, but here we go. Pedal to the metal. That's 60 miles an hour. There's 100. $130 and I'm backing off. Oh man, that was intense. That was very intense. It sprints, it dances, it makes a tremendous sound, and on top of that, it looks amazing doing it. About the only thing the GT350 can't do is blend in. I guess the only question now is, can I borrow $60,000? Because I think I'm keeping this one.